terms of jobs, what kind of industries are in the area, and what can you say about typical commutes? What people should expect if they're buying home, I don't know, in downtown? Do they need to commute outside of that area, or there are jobs right there? Some kind of
Yeah, so
geographically, where are the jobs? Where is the residency?
yeah, for sure. So there's so many options with that. So we do have some recent, like really big industries. We have healthcare is one of the big things. We have Advent Health, and they employ a lot of people. We have some great hospitals, Tampa General, which is downtown Tampa. But most people, we haven't had a lot of people living in downtown Tampa until recently. Recently,
Oh,
they've built some nice condos and high rises. Before that, there wasn't a lot of, I should say, in the last 10 years. The last 10 years it's developed into Channelside, where you can live right downtown. And then around downtown, you can get into downtown from any of the suburbs in 40 minutes or less, even with traffic usually. So it's not really terrible. It's not really bad. And if you go outside of traffic times, you can get in even quicker. And there's a lot of new roads being built to help alleviate the problem. We have finance, Raymond James, we have Chase, some big finance companies in the area, some tech. And then we have also the Port of Tampa, that is one of the biggest ports. So we have a lot of employment that's right in downtown Tampa. But most of the people that would work there would come from the suburbs and into that area to get to work. So depending on where you live, if you want to, take the expressways in, I mean, you can get down there in 20 minutes if you're in certain areas. So really a lot of options.
but traffic is not too bad.
It's not, I mean, I try to avoid it if I can, because I'm a realtor and I try to make my schedule accordingly. But if I was going to downtown Tampa in rush hour, I will sit a little bit. There'll be some sitting. It won't be a dead stop. But I mean, a trip that might take me normally 30 minutes might take me 45 to 50. It's not terrible.
Well, it's if you need to be back to pick up your kid from school,
it is, yeah.
It may ruin your day.
It is, yeah. So there is definitely traffic. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to underplay it, but unless you work in that area, there's so many, outskirting roads that you can take to get to and from places. So getting on the expressway that goes right into downtown Tampa would be probably the worst, because it's the oldest one too. So it's not, they're expanding it and doing some things to give us different ways to get in and out, which has helped.
Got it. So one more question about the housing. So if somebody is moving into your area, how fast the homes are selling, kind of velocity of the market, what should they expect? And in our area, for example, if you don't have a pre-approval before you start shopping, you really don't have time to to submit an offer. Let's put it that way.
It's been the same here. So definitely need to get your pre-approval done, because we've had multiple offers, bidding wars over asking. However, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we have seen a slight shift, and our inventory has tripled here, which we're still under the 6 month that we need. We've been less than a month of inventory here in the Tampa market.
So with tripling, are you at 3 months or?
It's still, well, the last thing I just saw was like 1.9, but it was less than a month, so it's hard to, so we're like, in our little town that we live in, we've been at like 50, 60 active listings for a while. That's all we've had in Land O'Lakes, which is a little suburb around Tampa. And I just looked this morning, I think it was 175 active listings.
Oh, wow.
So that's quite an increase in active listings, and that's the highest we've seen it in the last year and a half. So it's hard to say how it's going to impact things for buyers, because obviously that's giving you more choices. Things are on the market a little bit longer. It used to be we'd list something and we'd have it sold really within the first day, but within the first week for sure,
right,
it would be under contract. And now I'm seeing things one just 17 days, 15 days. So we're still selling. I don't see the prices necessarily coming down, but they're sitting a little bit longer right now because there's more choices for buyers.
So do you see price reductions in listings or?
A few,
not
yes.
yet.
We are seeing some price reductions recently. But then we saw the shift when the interest rate went up. So the interest rate went up, a little bit. And that, I don't know if that, how it starts and what all impacts everything, but we saw the increase in the, listings that are available, inventory. So I think that we are seeing, we put these homes on the market for so long at the very top of where we thought we could go because we were selling for over asking.
Right.
People were waiving appraisals. People were paying the difference between the appraisal and what they offered to get the offer. And 50,000, 70,000, sometimes over asking, sometimes 10, depending on the price of the property. But now I think some people listed, right at the top, right when we started to see the inventory, and the realtors and the homeowners are expecting that it's still going to go so quickly. I think they're getting nervous. I better drop the price, So it's hard to say because we're so early into this change. And, 30 years in the business, I've seen a lot of ups and downs and changes. And you never know what to expect. If we had a crystal ball, boy, that'd be great, right? See what's going to happen. But it's definitely changing.
Yeah, well, I actually have a crystal ball, but it doesn't show anything.
Well, good. I don't want it then.
Oh, well, it's like mountain crystal. It's kind of a rock. Anyways, so in terms of schools, what should people expect if they're moving in with kids? Public schools versus private. What are the options?
Tampa has some of the best schools around, so we have some great options with public and private schools. There are some schools that have just forever been public top schools. One of them is Plant High School in South Tampa. It's very coveted. You have to be in a certain area, certain address to get in there. And they've just always ranked so highly, but so is Land O'Lakes High School, which is the high school in Land O'Lakes. It's ranked highly in the United States. We have great private schools as well. Lots of great sports in our schools as well. Some very competitive high level sports in some of the private schools too. So there's quite a range. And we also have charter schools and different kind of options in the public school system. So it's just really the good special education systems in some areas too for kids that I was a special education teacher at one time. So it's, that's near and dear to my heart. So there's a lot of options. I think the best way to really, if schools are the number one priority for someone, then it's determining, are you public or private? And then if you're private, there's several schools that we would definitely, zone in on. And then if it's a Christian or a Catholic one or not, and you want that. So there's different choices like that. As far as the public schools go, there's different ones that are great in different areas all around Tampa. So it's not just that you need to go to this one to be in Plant High School. There's other schools that are great in different sections. So it's really
with comparable rating. That's
the school ratings have, with the great schools thing. I don't know if you guys use that. It's a website.
Yeah, it's nationwide,
right? So we can basically search on there and see what they're ranked, if they're an A school or how long they've been at. So those are usually those homes will sell a little faster and maybe for a little bit more. But there's quite a few options. So it's not just one. We're a huge area, so we have a lot of choices.
So you have school districts, right? The city boundaries and school district boundaries, are they the same, or what do you need to know in order to figure out?
So Tampa covers 4 counties and it's a huge area. So we have Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa proper is. Then you have Pasco County just north. Then you have, Pinellas County, which is closer to the beaches. And then you have Hernando County, and each one has its own school district. And then within
it's countywide.
Countywide. And then within that school district, there will be lines for each school, which sometimes change. So the areas outside of Tampa that are building and growing have added more schools recently. And then they'll change the lines a little bit so they're building more new schools up and around Tampa Bay. And some of those are some of the better schools. Some of the newer schools actually have been ranking great, but the old classic Plant High School has been the one in Tampa forever. That's very highly ranked as a public
tradition.
School, yeah, lots of places to consider for sure.
Now, it's interesting because in our area, it's, for example, like San Jose has like 4 school districts covering one city,
right?
And you're talking about countywide, so it's
that's
a different system. So you need to worry more. What I hear that you need to worry more about the school boundaries, not as much about the school district boundaries.
That's correct. That is correct. It is the school boundaries, but they are subject to change. So some of them are more apt to stay the same because the homes are already built and it's not going to change how many students are going to go there. So the more established areas are more likely to stay the same.
Yeah. Again, if you don't go, go to school immediately, or you don't need school immediately. You have to keep in mind whether or not the school boundaries will change. Makes sense.
Correct.
So you lived there for a really long time, right?
Yeah. What are you trying to say?